Come on, y'all. I thought this was fake. Iran said they only going to negotiate with the GOAT, the greatest of all time. They only going to negotiate with Obama. What the hell? Come on, y'all. This is crazy, right?
Trump tried to bring Iran to the table to make a deal. They said, hell no, we don't trust you. We already know how you do. You coming to dominate. But they talked to Obama, and they made a deal with Obama. Trump is peeved, to say the least. This is so historic. Man, I'll let y'all know what I hear.
Obama he gave Iran the right to have a nuclear weapon at the highest level within a very short period of time, and I terminated that agreement.
It was actually Trump who gave them the right to produce nuclear weapons when he pulled out of the JCPOA agreement that Obama signed with Iran. Trump is literally rewriting history because his supporters are too ignorant to follow.
The problem is when Americans, the current administration, talk about a deal, in fact, they want to dictate what they want. And this is what we experienced. As recently as 2 months ago in New York, we are ready for negotiation, but not for dictation. We are ready to go for a deal, but for a fair and balanced deal, not a one-sided deal.
How prepared are you if there were a follow-on Israeli attack on Iran?
We are even more prepared.
Barack Obama stopped Iran from acquiring a nuclear weapon without forcing the entire world to pay more for gas.
We pulled it off without firing a missile. We got 97% of their enriched uranium out. They were able to maintain a modest civilian nuclear program for energy. And
so you think it was working?
Well, not only did I think it was working, even Israeli intelligence thought it was working. Even our intelligence services thought it was working. So there's no dispute that it worked, and we didn't have to kill a whole bunch of people or shut down the Strait of Hormuz. Now,
well, there was some dispute that it didn't work.
Well,
our present president believed that it didn't work, which is why he pulled out of it.
It's not clear that he didn't believe that it didn't work. He just said it didn't work.
Worst deal of all time.
Yeah, because I did it, which is fine. That seems to be a pattern. But there was no serious independent folks who would say that it didn't work with respect to the nuclear program. Now, if your agenda was to bring about regime change in Iran, well, that wasn't the goal of the agreement. If your goal was to dismantle the Iranian military so that it couldn't cause any other problems in the region, then it didn't do that, but that wasn't the goal.
Breaking news, y'all. Oh, this is hilarious. Iran said to Trump and his administration, we're not going to do any negotiation. We'll only talk to Barack Obama. They said we want to talk to Barack Obama for negotiations or nothing. And Trump is mad as fuck right now because Iran respects Obama. Obama is the OG. Iran said we want to negotiate only with Obama, not you. Wow, y'all. Obama, get yours, man.
Obama said, 2 weeks ago, that Netanyahu came and said, if you don't attack Iran, we're going to use nuclear weapons. And Obama said, go ahead, use them. We need to operate utterly independently of the Israelis. I've said a million times, I'm going to repeat it. Starting in the mid-1980s when Ronald Reagan was president, every single Israeli prime minister, no matter who it was, when they came to the United States, and they come all the time, they would say, please attack Iran, please attack Iran, please attack Iran. And every single president said, I'm not going to do it. Obama said, 2 weeks ago, that Netanyahu came and said, if you don't attack Iran, we're going to use nuclear weapons. And Obama said, go ahead, use them. And he called the bluff, and they didn't use them. Since 1986, the Iranians have been 6 months away from a nuclear weapon. Well, guess what? No, they're not. That's a lie.
Israeli officials short-circuited the entire U.S. government and just went right to American policymakers and said, doesn't matter what your country says, here's what we know. Is that what you're saying?
I mean, usually they're pretty slick. And
of course.
And they'll say, hey, this isn't in intelligence channels yet because it's going to take some time to get there. And here, they're on the cusp of building a bomb. You know, they're going to do a preemptive attack. And if we don't stop them now, they're going to build a nuclear weapon. And enrichment is the pathway to that. Enrichment became the narrative. And so that hung up and really sabotaged the entire negotiations because the Iranians basically said, we're not going to negotiate if the whole starting point is no enrichment. And again, that had nothing to do with a nuclear weapon. And the Iranians essentially agreed to that. So the Israelis came in, they moved that red line. And then the way the ecosystem would work is that the talking heads on TV, you know, your Mark Levin's, Sean Hannity's, etc., they would say basically the exact same thing that night on TV, or there would be a piece written in the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, that would say something very, very similar. Yet, if you looked in classified intelligence, we didn't see any of that.
Iran has never attacked a neighbor. Israel has repeatedly attacked its neighbors. Iran signed the Non-Proliferation Treaty. Israel has refused to sign. Iran submits to inspection by the International Nuclear Energy Agency. Israel refuses to submit. Iran has no nuclear weapons. Israel has between 75 and 400 nuclear weapons. So Israel poses an existential threat to Iran. For the last 40 years, Israel has conducted a systematic campaign of disinformation about Iran. Why the lies? Why the double standards? Why the hypocrisy?
They weren't close to having a bomb. Okay? We pretended that they were because we wanted to please Israel. And Bibi Netanyahu talked us into believing that we could go in there, Venezuela style, and take out the Ayatollah, and President Trump would be treated like a hero, and he could, you know, have that same feeling he had after Venezuela and after the June bombing of the 3 nuclear sites. It would be super easy. Enough is enough. They're the reason we got into this war. They're the reason we were not able to end it. Now, finally, they've agreed to stop bombing Lebanon. Thanks. So we can actually try to wrap this thing.
This has never been about nuclear weapons. This has been about Israel's regional hegemony in the Middle East. Israel wants to topple the Iranian regime, period. It has said so. This is not a mystery. This is not my claim. This is Israeli policy repeated year in, year out. The whole idea that Trump is negotiating to prevent Iran from getting a nuclear weapon, that was negotiated. Trump ripped it up. The Iranians have come back every year to say, we don't want a nuclear weapon. We want negotiations. The United States does not accept yes for an answer because it works for the government of Israel. This is the point. Why does it work for the government of Israel? It's a little hard to understand. Maybe because it's of Mike Hucklebee's parishioners, because of people who read the Bible and say, okay, that's our foreign policy. That's possible. It may be because of what's in the Epstein files that haven't been released. It may be blackmail. It may be corruption. It may be many other things, but it is not about America's interests. We have no interest whatsoever in going to a war with Iran right now. Yeah, if there is such a war, it's a war because Israel has told the United States what to do. And that raises a question. Why has the United States done what Israel has told the United States to do for 30 years? And I don't just mean about Iran. I mean across the Middle East.
You're watching President Obama there with his face in his hand, and you can tell it's not going over well. This is his.
If we didn't hit within 2 weeks, they would have had a nuclear weapon. If we didn't do the B-2 attack a number of months ago, they would have a nuclear weapon. Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated.
They're probably a week away from having industrial grade bomb making material.
Stopped, Iran could produce a nuclear weapon in a very short time. It could be a year. It could be within a few months.
They have the wherewithal, the stored up, preserved knowledge to make a bomb very quickly if they wanted to do it.
Iran is so dangerous. Weeks away from having the fissile material
for an entire arsenal of nuclear bombs.
They're very close. They're 6 months away from being about 90% of having the enriched uranium for an atom bomb. Iran is gearing up to produce 25 bombs, atomic bombs a year, 250 bombs in a decade. Ladies and gentlemen, time is running out.
Iran will be capable of...
Inspectors will monitor Iran's key nuclear facilities 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. For decades to come, inspectors will have access to Iran's entire nuclear supply chain. In other words, if Iran tries to cheat, if they try to build a bomb covertly, we will catch them. So the bottom line is this: whereas Iran was steadily expanding its nuclear program, we have now cut off every single path that Iran could have used to build a bomb. Whereas it would have taken Iran 2 to 3 months to break out with enough material to rush to a bomb, we've now extended that breakout time to a year. And with the world's unprecedented inspections and access to Iran's program, we'll know if Iran ever tries to break out. Now that Iran's actions have been verified, it can begin to receive relief from certain nuclear sanctions and gain access to its own money that had been frozen. And perhaps most important of all, we've achieved this historic progress through diplomacy.
Fury is necessary for the safety of America and the security of the free world. From the very first day I announced my campaign for president in 2015, I have vowed that I would never allow Iran to have a nuclear weapon. This fanatical regime has been chanting death to America, death to Israel for 47 years. Their proxies were behind the murder of 241 Americans in the Marine barracks bombing in Beirut, the slaughter of hundreds of our service members with roadside bombs. They were involved in the attack on the USS Cole, and they carried out the countless other heinous acts, including the just horrible, bloody atrocities of October 7th in Israel, something that most people have never seen anything like it. This murderous regime also recently killed 45,000 of their own people who were protesting in Iran. 45,000 dead. For these terrorists to have nuclear weapons would be an intolerable threat. The most violent and thuggish regime on earth would be free to carry out their campaigns of terror, coercion, conquest, and mass murder from behind a nuclear shield. I will never let that happen, and neither should any of our past presidents.
Listen, every president, from when I joined the CIA, George H.W. Bush had just become president, the Israelis asked us to bomb Iran. No matter who the prime minister of Israel happens to be, you gotta bomb Iran. You gotta bomb Iran. You gotta bomb Iran. And every single president said, no, we're not bombing Iran. Obama and Netanyahu got into shouting matches.
Oh, yeah.
We didn't have an understanding or an appreciation of what an existential threat Iran was or a nuclear Iran was. Our position was that that would be the start of World War III. Because if we bomb Iran, then the Chinese may have to come in, or the Russians may have to come in.
Did this prove that the Chinese and the Russians actually don't really give a shit about Iran, or is that a little premature to say?
That's the initial conclusion we can draw.
All right, you guys know I'm not the biggest fan of Trump, but credit where credit is due, because I just read through the terms of the new agreement with Iran, and it is a massive win for the United States. First, he got them to give up 11 tons of enriched uranium. That's 98% of their supply. They agreed to dismantle 13,000 centrifuges used to enrich nuclear material, and they agreed to cap the purity level of the little enriched uranium they still produce at 3.67%, which is 1/30th the level you'd need to make a bomb. And to ensure they don't go off the rails, they agreed to allow independent inspectors who conduct on-site inspections of all of their nuclear sites, including undisclosed locations we discovered through surveillance. On top of that, the Strait of Hormuz stays open and Iran gets no additional cut of oil that flows through it. Wait, hang on a sec. Shit, you guys, I'm sorry, I read that wrong. Those were the exact terms of the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, also known as the Iran nuclear deal signed by President Obama. That deal was so thorough and so well executed that in every single one of the more than a dozen independent inspections, Iran was fully compliant, including all of the inspections conducted by Donald Trump's own State Department. And on top of that, Obama's deal took this straight off the table as leverage, because in exchange for giving up their nuclear weapons program, they got relief from sanctions on oil sales. So closing this strait would have hurt them just as much as anyone else. But Trump tore up the deal deal anyway, because just like with the Affordable Care Act, any policy that proves Obama was 1,000 times the president Trump will ever be is an unacceptable living reminder of Donald Trump's incompetence and inadequacy. Because there is nothing Trump hates more than a mirror that tells the truth about his reflection. A Velveeta Cheeto who is somehow simultaneously both twice the man and half the man that Obama continues to be. So with the deal torn up, within a year Iran had enough enriched uranium to be a problem, so sanctions were reimposed and the Strait was turned back into a hostage. But because Donald Trump can't make a deal durable enough to serve as President Obama's toilet paper, he'd painted himself into a corner and had no choice but to turn to the military to try and bury the problems he couldn't solve with a pen.
So Iran just tweeted out that they will only negotiate with Obama. Yeah, they said, sorry, we're holding out for the GOAT. Yeah, we're not talking to you. We were going to wait for President Obama, the greatest president of all time. We ain't fucking with you, but we're chilling here by the Strait of Hormuz until you send in the varsity team. We will only negotiate with Obama. Oh my, Trump's head is going to explode. He's... I'm sorry. Oh my God. Trump, there will be ketchup, french fries, and cheeseburgers hitting every wall of the White House tonight because Iran is straight trolling Trumpy McDupper pants. He's... Wiper, clean up on the aisle, Oval Office. Yeah, he got a big load right now after this one. Yeah, Iran is trolling Trump. They said they're only going to negotiate with Barack Obama. Fucking genius.